Hello and welcome to Ruth Reacts to Books. I'm your host, Ruxy Ruth McGuth, and this is Season 3, Episode 16. And today I'm reacting to Stephen King's The Gunslinger. Before I get into the book, I want to talk a little bit about how I came to love Stephen King, a little bit about that, and then I'll tell you about how I got into this book and the struggle I had, but it came out well in the end. So I came to love Stephen King because once upon a time there was a, in my opinion, horrible legislator in Congress called Steve King, and he did terrible things, in my opinion, said crazy things that nowadays might seem normal to the MAGA crowd. But back then, the Republicans basically eventually kicked him out of Congress themselves and voted him out because he was being so crazy. And Stephen King, the author, would post things on social media like, please stop doing all these crazy things because you're making a mockery of our name. And he really did not like this man. And I appreciated that as someone who also did not like this man. And so of course I knew who Stephen King was. Who doesn't know who he is? But even though as a young child, I'm about to age myself, who used to read R.L. Stine's Fear Street, for some reason I kind of shied away from Stephen King as an adult reader because I thought like he wrote horror books, and I don't know why, but I was like I don't know if I was afraid or I don't know, but I shied away. But about a year or two ago, he had a book that had come out called Fairy Tale, and I picked it up. There's a Ruth Reacts out there about it somewhere, and I absolutely loved it. It wasn't one of his horror books. It was more of an adventure story. It was delightful. Gave it 5 stars. And so after reading that, I wanted to read more of Stephen King. And I had followed him, like my algorithm started picking up posts from him. And so I found this series. It's called the Dark Tower series, and Stephen King fans seemed to be obsessed with it. There was a movie out there about it. I didn't watch the movie yet because I'm not going to do that till I'm done with the series. And so this is book 1 of the Dark Tower series. So I tried listening to it on audiobook. My husband and I got like halfway through the audiobook and we were like, what is happening? We have no idea what's going on. So we restarted the audiobook. We then listened to the entire audiobook all the way through, and we looked at each other and we still had absolutely no idea what had just happened. So I got the book, the physical book, and read it with my eyes, and that was much better. And in the beginning of this book, there was a note from Stephen King. So he originally wrote this in 1983. And then in 2003, after he had completed the series, he came back and he re-released it, and he edited it, and he kind of fixed it because he said when he originally wrote it at the very beginning of this series, like by the time he got done with the series, he had to go back and add things to like correct some plot holes, and just because he was a young author in 83 and in 2003 he was a much older author who knew more things. And so I'm sure that the version we heard was the 2003 version, but somehow it was difficult to understand. Basically, the guy is going on this journey, and as he goes, he's telling stories to people throughout it about his past. And so I do think it can be challenging when you're listening to it to be figuring out, like, is he talking about something that's happening now, or is he talking about a story from his past? But it was much easier when I was reading it to tell that. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I really liked it. I'm going to read the series, so you will be hearing more about this series from Stephen King. This one was called The Gunslinger. Highly recommend, but I recommend maybe starting with the book, and then maybe later you can pick up the audiobook, but starting with the book. So I will keep you updated on how it goes. All right, see you later. Bye.